Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Beverly Hills Bar Association. I'm LaVonne Lawson. I'm a tax attorney and the immediate past president of the Beverly Hills Bar Association. This is part of our Law Practice Management series. It is my privilege to introduce Malcolm McNeil and Nadira Imam, who will discuss marketing your law practice in the coronavirus environment. Malcolm McNeil is a partner with the law firm of Arent, where he has a wide-ranging practice focusing on business issues for companies across a number of industries. Malcolm is also the second vice president of the Beverly Hills Bar Association. Nadira Imam is a senior associate attorney at the law firm Lawrence H. Jacobson, APC in Beverly Hills. She handles a variety of general transactional matters for businesses and individuals throughout California. Nadira is the president of the Beverly Hills Bar Association's Barristers. So, thank you all for being here. And I'd like to start with my initial question, which is simply, how are you doing? And tell me how your practice is right now. I'll start with Malcolm.
Sure. Well, first of all, it's my pleasure to be here, and thank you, LaVonne, for arranging this. And it's my pleasure to be here with Nadira. And and I wish everybody, of course, to stay safe and healthy, and all of those good things and all those messages and wishes that we're passing to everyone. On the issue, I'm the international co-leader of our firm, and so what that means is that we're dealing with lawyers that have international clients, and we've been dealing with issues of that are a lot of cross-border work, but some things have just shut down. So what we're dealing with is in trade, for example, the lawyers are working 24/7. In litigation, many things have been put over for 3 to 6 months, and there's lawyers with a lot of capacity on their agendas, and consequently the question is how to best effectively use that in order to prepare for today and tomorrow and the post-coronavirus environment when it occurs. So what we've been doing internally is strategically moving assets around, meaning the lawyers and the lawyer time, to make them flexible and nimble in order to be responsive to those lawyers who are overburdened, so that they fill up their time, and also make sure that they match their skill sets, and not just skill sets, because some don't have the same skill sets, but to, very important, we forget sometimes, which is to match interests. What is interesting the lawyer today? What is a practice area that they like to perhaps move into or explore more, where they can assist and get a taste of a different practice area, which may give them more gratification in the general practice of law.
Okay, thank you. And with respect to, so I can hear what's happening within your firm. What about you personally?
Me, it's been a challenge to deal with. There's a lot of things that have been billable, a lot of things that have been not billable. Obviously, balancing the practice with the personal needs, because of course we're all at home and we're all trying to stay hunkered down and stay productive, and at the same time stay in touch with our loved ones. So the balancing act has been challenging, because a lot of times we go to the office, do our work, come home, and there's sort of a separation. In the present environment, those things have been integrated. So what it's caused me to do is to be even more rigid in terms of my planning. And I set aside a period of time yesterday to send well wishes to lawyers and people that I know overseas, and to friends and family that were Passover, Easter best wishes. Nothing to do with the law, but just something to do. I spent 4 hours doing that from 1 to 5, just going through my contacts. We would have formerly said Rolodexes, right? And I ended up going through and sending out specialized messages, not the same message 300 times, but roughly the same message, but tailored to the people that we know. And as you may know, LaVonne, you know, because I also sent that to our executive committee, because I'm proud to work with everybody right now at the executive committee of the bar. So that was an example of trying to stay in personal touch. So planning the week has been a very important thing, because clients are scared, they're anxious, they have different needs, and everybody, if five people call you at the same time saying they have an emergency, how do you handle it? Well, you need to be able to schedule it. You need to be able to provide care, comfort, show that you're going to be there, but you need to do so in a manner that is that's going to set them at ease and know that they're not just being put off.
You know, that's interesting because, and Malcolm, that was a beautiful message. I did receive it over the weekend. I really appreciated it. And what I'm understanding from you is that at any time, you're really just taking that additional time to stay in touch with people. That contact is more important than ever, is what I'm hearing from you.
Without a doubt, and it applies across the board. It doesn't matter if you're a brand new lawyer or a 10-year lawyer or a 30-year lawyer. What matters is that you sort of take an assessment. I was talking to my daughter about this process, who has an estate planning practice, and trusts and wills have actually she's been quite busy as a result of this, because people are starting to think about those types of issues and estate planning and so forth. But what we need to do is, it's a good time. We've seen it in some emails that I read where they say we're readjusting, we're developing new habits, etc. Well, the word that I like the most in this process is a reset. And what does a reset mean? Well, a lot of times we're so busy running from meeting to meeting and conference to conference and client to client and just trying to keep everything afloat that we don't really take time to update ourselves, update our website, update our LinkedIn profile, update our resume, update our CV, update our marketing materials. If there's downtime, now is the perfect time to do it with clarity of thought. That's the good news about it. You don't have to do it with a worried about where you have to be in 15 or 20 minutes, but you can actually take the time and say, what message do I want to pass along to colleagues that might refer people to me? What message do I want to pass along to clients who are existing clients and that I want them to feel comfortable with me? How about past clients that I had before, but they're not really clients now, and I haven't represented them for a period of time? What kind of message do I have for them? So yes, that is, and the problem is, we do a lot of things in the law routinely, but this type of personal contact requires actually a thoughtful reflection on each one of those contacts and what is the message that you want to convey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to turn to Dira for a moment and say, Dira, what are you experiencing, and what are you hearing from your fellow barristers and the young attorneys? What's happening over there?
Well, I want to thank you also, Malcolm, for your message that you sent to us yesterday. It was really nice, and that's kind of along the lines of what I'm experiencing as well, with friends and family members and people who just want to reach out and find out where they are with things. And they're asking me questions that may not be related to my area of work, but at the same time, I'm able to give them comfort in the fact that I have a knowledge base that they don't have, because I'm an attorney and I can give them different kinds of advice from a different perspective. And a lot of people who typically didn't know what I did now know a little bit more about what kind of work that I do. So it's actually opening up with more and more personal contacts, or getting an idea of what I do, because they're asking me questions and I can answer those questions a lot of the time now. And if I can, I also know where to refer them to. And so it's opening up my practice to my personal contacts. And then with clients, like Malcolm said, it's a way for me to be able to give them comfort in their businesses and the things that they're doing now, that things will be okay, that, the law is going to continue. We're going to open the courts one day. And I find that there are others who are working on their websites, like Malcolm said, working on their social media platforms and just keeping contacted with people through those mediums. I also find that some are changing their area of practice. One of the attorneys I know, he's in transition right now. He's moving from an immigration situation to healthcare, and was just offered a new position right before this all started, the beginning of March. And so right now he's on hiatus, but he'll start up with a new area of law when this all is finished with. So those are the things that I'm seeing happening right now with the younger attorneys.
Okay. So it sounds like, as Malcolm said, now is the time to not stop marketing, but to continue communications And from what I'm hearing is that the younger attorneys who are very adept with social media and so forth are busy doing that. Does that sound
Yeah,
about?
it's a different type of marketing, I think. Less of selling myself and more of showing what I can do, which is really what marketing should be doing. From a marketing standpoint, really it's to fill a need. And we're able now to show that we can fill that need. We're able to actually show that on social media more by giving out little pieces of advice on how to handle this whole coronavirus, how to handle your business during this time. Maybe this is a time to start thinking about estate planning and things like that. Because people also are in flux right now. They're at home, they don't know what to do. They're trying to work and manage their kids and manage their families. And then on top of that, they're trying to think of, oh, what if I get sick? What's going to happen then?
I can't agree more, Dira. And I wanted to jump in and just say the most important thing is, and that came out in Dira's comments, be genuine. Talk to people. We're not just handing out flyers and links and glibs and what's going on with PPP and the CARES Act and all of that and making it look like we're out there trying to hawk our services, but be genuine. One of the things I've been asking people, or one of the approaches to put something in concrete form, is I said, LaVonne, what's been going on with you? What's important to your practice right now, or your business, assuming you're a business owner? What's on your plate right now? What's concerning you the most? Is it applying for a loan? Is it dealing with your employees? Are you having a supplier who's not shipping or not paying? In other words, rather than us make those assumptions, ask the questions and find out. That's how you demonstrate that you're genuinely concerned. And then the second step is to jump in and say, okay, I understand your concern is the PPP, or your concern, these are real examples I'm giving you, by the way, or I understand your concern is whether or not you're going to lay off these employees, or whether or not you're going to pay them, or what are all the employment ramifications of taking any employment action. And you go through that process with them and be sensible with them and bring up the issue of fees. I brought up the issue of fees and says, LaVonne, I understand you're concerned about your business and you're concerned about your employees and you're concerned about your suppliers and all of that. Feel free to call me. Contact me. I know you may worry about that a little bit because clients always worry about paying the lawyers, and I do understand. But no, we all understand that you need help now, and you may need flexibility. So please call me, and I assure you that we will be flexible and work together to make sure you get the advice you need.
Wow, these are excellent comments, and I'm hearing what's really interesting is I'm also hearing that people are really playing to their strengths too. So all the way from the personal contact and your ability to really connect with your clients and address a range of concerns. That also, and Dira's also talking about that where we are moving into more and more of a kind of an online remote way of communicating, how also the young lawyers are reaching out and ever using social media even more, which gets to my question. Where do you both think, because this is obviously that so much is going remote, and where we were headed anywhere, and this is probably push it forward. How do you think this affects the practice on the other side of this, and possibly the marketing? And I know it's just kind of an open question. Yeah. You guys are interesting people to talk to. I just love to would really appreciate hearing your comments.
Dira, would you like to take that on?
I think that a lot of the court proceedings and things will become more modernized. There's been a little bit of a push with the state to start doing more electronic filings and things like that. And I think that we're going to see more of that moving forward with the courts, because now we're forced to accelerate that process. So that's where I think that things are going to go more electronic. The in-person hearings and things that need to be done in person will still have to be done that way for a while longer, but I think we'll move more into a direction of being able to do all our filings electronically, being able to do some of the hearings and things that are not something where somebody's going to go into custody right away, or some issue where they're being held already, but a lot of like traffic things that will start being done either electronically or on the phone or in some other way.
I fully agree. Also, there's another unintended, or let's say unexpected byproduct of that, I guess, You said it a few minutes ago, LaVonne, when you were talking about, yeah, our younger lawyers, as we know, are more tech savvy than the older lawyers, and I will tell you that's always been, let's say, one of the things that goes around in the tech world is some people have a tech phobia, if you will. Well, older lawyers who've been practicing for a long time, and I certainly wouldn't know who they are, but I'm guessing right now. But no, lawyers of my generation, I happen to have been tech savvy because I've had to do a lot of traveling. I've gone overseas for clients. I've handled arbitrations and mediations in international contexts, and so it was critical for me to learn how to do things more efficiently, and that usually involved tech tools that I had at my disposal. But not all lawyers had to do that. So there have been, I won't say it's an aversion. I'll just say that getting tech savvy was sort of last on the list. Well, I will tell you, and certainly speaking from experience over the last 30 days or so, that that everyone is accelerating now to a new norm. And what Dira just said is the courts are going to probably accelerate to a near normal, the state where the state and federal courts will be in more alignment regarding what is filed online and what is e-filed and the notices and so forth. But I think more and more lawyers, I will speak for our firm, lawyers who didn't know what Microsoft Teams was or really know what Zoom was, or lawyers that didn't know any of these tools that were available, what they didn't know, now they know. And we have set up our office very efficiently and virtually across the firm, 5 offices in 5 states. Excuse me, in 5 cities, I should say, 4 states. But what we do is we have a fantastic interconnectivity now, and we're connecting via our meetings are taking place as scheduled. I'm teaching clients. This morning I mentioned I had a 9 a.m. conference with a client that never knew what Zoom was. So I've taught the client. So I think that this process is going to bring everybody to I won't say an entirely parity level, but we're certainly going to have a new lingo. Everybody's going to know what things are like Zoom. Everybody's going to button and have a conference. We can do our work now in a virtual capacity and still be efficient and still have human qualities by and large. Oh, this morning we're having a virtual coffee shop in the office. Okay, Thursday morning we're having a virtual breakfast with a networking group. So everybody is looking for ways to achieve the same things that we were achieving before, but in a virtual context. I hope it doesn't replace all of those personal contact issues entirely, but it will certainly bring us to a level where we're going to be, I think, more efficient and can select what needs to be face-to-face and what can be done virtually.
This definitely will allow lawyers to become all the more mobile going forward, I imagine, or lawyers will get used to that, becoming more mobile. And this one is probably a harder one, but just how do you think this affects the marketing? And maybe it doesn't. I have no idea. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe we figure it out when we're there. Because you're right, the in-person is important. It does seem that we're going to be a lot more on, remote and from all over the place. It's interesting.
Well, I'll say that where there's a lot of activity and discussion in this area right now, as you know, my practice is roughly 50% litigation and ADR, and the other half is sort of everything else, whatever pops up internationally with clients. And so I get a pretty broad perspective of what's going on in the legal landscape in both of those camps. And the big area right now is in arbitration and mediation, because the arbitrations that had been scheduled, backing up a second, courts have just sort of put hearings off. I have notices in all the cases. The March 2nd hearing is now put over until June 17th, et cetera, et cetera. So there's been basically a 90-day hiatus that the courts have done, at least in the civil courts in California and most courts in California. But in arbitrations and otherwise, the companies still want to go forward with their arbitrations. So the question becomes, are they going to hold a virtual arbitration? And where there's a lot of resistance to that, and as a litigator, I do want to have the forgive the phrase, but touchy-feely kind of seeing the witness on the witness stand, watching what they're saying, having the ability to run into the hallway and talk to a client in a typical arbitration environment. you will lose that. But there's a level of efficiency that comes. Witnesses no longer have to fly halfway around the world to go to Hong Kong or Stockholm or Geneva for an arbitration. They can actually do it from home if everybody is on that parity level that I talked about earlier. And so in the arbitration field, I'm on different international arbitration blogs, and you see the struggle that is occurring about which is better. Is a virtual arbitration better, or is a face-to-face arbitration better? And so it really depends, I think, on the sensibilities of the lawyer involved. And that's going but I do think that process will allow for some people to have less emotional or less let's say lesser valued arbitrations to be done virtually. If it's a big arbitration with big bucks at stake, probably everybody's going to want to be in the same place at the same time, but there'll be a marketplace for that. On the mediation side now, that's interesting because I'm getting, of course, the emails from mediators telling me that we have virtual mediations. Well, I'm a settlement officer for the federal court, and I will tell you that we all know that it is certainly more effective, I think, to have face-to-face mediations because of the nature of it. You're asking in an arbitration setting, witnesses testify, and the arbitrator will eventually decide. In the mediation setting, the mediator has a little bit more of a prominent role in some ways to get the parties together, to create a relationship with the parties, to get them to collaborate and eventually get to a settlement. So I'm a little bit more skeptical about the effectiveness of mediation in the virtual context, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't do it. There might, in fact, be cases where it would be appropriate, or where you had I have a client in Beijing and another client in Los Angeles, and they decide to hold a mediation virtually. So it could happen, but that's going to be, I think that's going to be that's going to be an interesting process to watch it play out as to how it affects those tools.
I wonder if the tools themselves will catch up to some of these concerns as well. I remember years ago, even though there was discussion about making these almost like these with use of different cameras, et cetera, almost these virtual rooms where it was almost like being there. I don't know much about it, but I wonder if there was a way to, and it's never going to be quite like being there, but where maybe there's several cameras and you're getting almost this 3D effect. I have no idea. But
no, well, the answer is yes. I mean, I think that technology is very good. In some ways, technology anticipates needs, and that's been great. But in other ways, technology answers needs. So it'll depend on who the technological developers are, and how much let's say the legal profession, how many litigators and arbitrators and mediators they get in a room and say, what is it that you really want from that experience, and can we replicate it in a virtual environment? And I think that will happen. And it's true. I think that I think even we at the Beverly Hills Bar Association have the capability now to hold mediations with mediator private rooms for a meeting with our client if our client is not there. So if you have, let's say, 5 parties, you have a mediator, counsel for each side, and 2 parties, that they can actually go to different rooms and speak. And obviously the big issue is going to be privacy. And all of that, because they're not going to want to hear clients swearing at each other about the other side being unreasonable, inadvertently being presented to the entire mediation process because somebody pressed the wrong button. I mean, even now, as we were getting on the line, we were challenged regarding whether or not a video is on hold or the audio is on hold, etc. So we have to have careful safeguards so that inadvertence is protected against. Otherwise, the privacy issues will be rather daunting.
Indeed. As we are, I wanted to find out if Nadira has any comments on this, and then kind of probably just wind down to probably just the topic of mentoring, because there is opportunity for mentoring in both directions. Malcolm, you have mentored many in your firms and throughout your profession. And in fact, you were Mentor of the Year, I think, at one of your firms. And Dira, I know there's the opportunity for the newer attorneys to get some of the, and Malcolm's already up to speed, but there are a number who are kind of busy getting up to speed real quick right now. So Dira, what do you think are the opportunities with respect to, first, any comments on what Malcolm said, and then kind of just getting finally into these comments on mentoring?
Well, I think Malcolm is right about a lot of things as far as the courts accelerating things, and I'm sure like the ADR and the mediation and all those things. I noted your points, Malcolm, that some things you can't do virtually. Some things you actually need the clients there, or you need that discussion time to leave the room. You need the privacy and things that you may not be able to do virtually. And inadvertence is an issue that I hadn't thought of, but it's true. We had a lot of time getting on this video that there were a lot of inadvertent comments that maybe we don't want as part of this discussion. So, and the challenges with the virtual platforms and things like that, like, my computer not working and then having to use the phone and trying to adapt to those things with several people will be a challenge.
Well, the viewers are going to have to pay extra for the outtakes, Dira.
Well, we did talk about having a blooper reel, so.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we'll make that happen, yeah.
Maybe we can make that available at a later time after edits are done.
Yeah, exactly.
But so yeah, there are some things that I think will have to stay in person and not be virtual, of course. I mean, there are certain things that we can't do virtually. And I'm having a challenge actually doing a lot of my work virtually. I'm having to go into office once in a while because some of the bookkeeping things, like I have to get the mail and open the checks to be able to deposit them, even if I deposit them with my telephone. There's no other way to do it. I know in Europe, they do a lot more of the wire transfers than we do here when it comes to normal business, but we're still using checks and we still have billing in different ways than they do. So, so there are some things that maybe we can move up to that virtual area of practice, and then some things that we won't be able to change, that will continue to have to be in person. So as far as that goes, I've noticed that I've become HR suddenly for our firm because of all of the new laws related to coronavirus. That's another thing that's happened in this whole situation that's new for me. I've had to look up, things about furloughs and layoffs and how to do what kind of letters to write, what kind of rights and things people have are available to them under the CARES Act, and what the payroll protection program applies to us, whether or not it does, if there's other SBA loans that we can get. So there are a lot of things that I'm doing in addition to what I would normally do. And so I'm actually busier now and working until later in the evening than I was before. It's really interesting. But I also think that what's nice for me is that I've been involved with the Beverly Hills Bar Association for a number of years. So I know people like Malcolm and you, LaVonne, that I could call and say, hey, I need some help with this or that. So one of my friends called me about this area of law, that area of law that I don't practice. And it's an opportunity for me to reach out to people that I know and ask them to mentor me. So that's what I was thinking about when you were talking about mentoring. It's like, well, I know you guys, if I have a question, if somebody calls me and says, hey, I need tax information, I'll call LaVonne. And Malcolm, if any of my international friends call me or they have questions, I can always refer them to you, or I can call Malcolm and say, hey, Malcolm, can you help me with this situation? I'm not exactly sure how to answer this question. And so I think it opens the doors for us to be able to, because we have to reach out more, to communicate more with the people that we already know.
That's an excellent.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Malcolm. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say absolutely, and I was going to say that, and not only that, I invite Dira or anyone to contact me, because I do consider everybody, because of the breadth of my practice, I never pretend to know it all. I always pretend to know a little bit about something, and no, I don't really pretend. I usually, because of the nature of the practice, I do know a little bit about a bunch of things, which is helpful in dealing with the client and hearing what the issues are, and then being able to lob it in the direction of someone else. That's one of the reasons why I join the Beverly Hills Bar, because I had my own office for 20 years, so, and I joined a large law firm after that, but my practice is still a practice of small to medium-sized clients that I've been representing for a long time. They have a variety of things, so it's cross-sector. It's from 2 to 700 employees. One of my clients is a ground handling company that's been challenged handling baggage at the airport, and we can imagine what they've been going through in their business. But then somebody else is an accounting firm that has 40 employees, and I've been helping them because they've needed to get through all of their issues. And again, it's been insurance issues, employment issues, contract issues, and so we can't know everything, but we should present to our clients that we're a resource, and that if we don't know the answer, that we have the ability to get the answer. And I think that's the what I would call the best attributes of a trusted advisor: not being a know-it-all, not pretending you know it all, not being afraid to say to a client, I don't know, but I'm going to get that answer. Because actually, I have this colleague, I have Nadira or LaVonne or whoever it might be, that I'm going to reach out to, or I'm just going to say, I'm going to reach out, I'll get you an answer in 24 hours. That's what clients want. They want a solution. They don't want the lawyer to just, oh, that's not my area. I don't do that. I don't do employment or tax or immigration or family law, so I don't know anything about what's going on. But that's not satisfying, and that's what makes a lot of clients dissatisfied with the idea of hiring a lawyer. I'll tell you, it works at a different level. I talked to a GC in the UK on a case, and he told me about this transaction that was taking place, and he was asking me for a budget. And he said, don't tell me you're going to have to hand this off to your labor guy and your tax guy and your trade guy, and the next thing I know, there's going to be 5 lawyers sending us a bill for $50,000. And I said, no, I'll answer all of those things, and I'll bill you $50,000. So he actually chuckled nervously. Okay, he did chuckle nervously, but I said, no, I understand. What he wanted was streamlined answers. He wanted here and now answers. He didn't want a 3-page memo citing 13 cases that were talking about esoteric principles that don't even apply it to his business situation. He wanted a lawyer that was going to understand, gives him cutting edge advice, gives him practical advice based on the circumstances of the transaction. And that's what I did. And now the client, I was going to say, now the client is a client of the firm. Not really. The client was almost a client of the firm because the transaction was put on hold right before the coronavirus issues. So we will reconnoiter in June or July, depending.
Well, it allows you the opportunity to make additional contact, which is kind of how we started. But also,
exactly.
You made both made very good points, Imam, and also the one about people who are the authenticity. You don't have to always know all the answers. The point is that if you can know the questions, you can go get the answers. And two, that coming to being practical about it and coming to a real solution, like you're talking about, that they want their matters handled, questions answered. You don't have to know everything off the top of your head. It's that you can go and get the answer and resolve the matter. So that completely makes sense. It has been wonderful speaking with both of you. This was just a great discussion. And I really appreciate it. And thank you for being willing and available to discuss this topic. I don't know if you had any final questions or comments, rather, before we sign off. So does anyone wants to say anything before we say our goodbyes for now?
Dear, I invite you. I'm old-fashioned, ladies first.
Thank you so much, Malcolm. And I want to thank you both for inviting me to this conversation. It's been enlightening for me, and it also lets me connect with you. I'm used to seeing your faces once a week or so, and it's been strange not seeing you. So, so it's a chance for us to connect, which is great. So thank you both.
You got it. I'd just like to conclude by telling everybody, use the time wisely. Don't let the days pass without getting your tasks done. And by the way, tasks don't necessarily just mean legal tasks. What I said earlier about resetting is we moved into our new home 2 years ago. And one of the things I wanted to do was to lay down Indian sunset rock on the side of the house. And we never did it because I was either traveling or working or too tired at night or whatever it might be. And so I bought 1,200 pounds of rocks last luckily Home Depot is an essential service, so I was able to go and get the rocks and lay them down. And I had said, well, two things. That Gardner said he'll do it for $1,200. And so that was the first incentive. And the second thing is I went and did, and there was such a sense of accomplishment that it was done. So we need that balance right now. We have our own issues, and we have our own challenges and our own emotional concerns and considerations. So be task oriented right now, but be flexible in your task orientation. Look at your calendar, plan out your week, plan out your time, figure out those things you wanted to do that you haven't been able to do, and balance them. And if you and when you're talking to clients, yes, you said authentic, LaVonne, and I said genuine and authentic. Be genuinely concerned with what's going on, and then respond. And that's both on a personal level and a professional level.
Well, thank you. And those are great words on which to sign off. I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day and wonderful rest of the week. And we'll talk to you soon.
Same to you. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Be safe and healthy, ladies.
Be well, guys.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.